This may be the only time J.D. Vance and Tim Walz cross paths this election cycle, and both candidates have been preparing extensively. Fox has told Vance did a mock debate over the past week, with House Majority Whip Tom Emmer playing the role of Walz. During the session, the power went out because of a storm, but Vance and his team pushed on using lanterns for lighting and cell phones for timers. Part of their strategy is to raise debate expectations for Walz.
Tim Walz is a wily political veteran. He's run countless campaigns. So really, it's 2 years in official politics for J.D. Vance, but 2 decades in politics for Tim Walz. He'll be buttoned up. He'll be very polished.
Over the weekend, CNN reported the Minnesota governor was feeling nerves, aware that Vance is also a skilled debater. A campaign spokesperson, though, is projecting calm.
He's looking forward to the debate. I think he's looking forward to debating J.D. Vance, who, again, is continuing to advocate for returning to high-risk pools that'll put people with pre-existing conditions back into these high-risk pools that cost them more money and could kick them off of their insurance.
Here are some of the rules for the CBS VP debate tonight. The mics stay on at all times, although the moderators can mute them at their discretion. No opening statements. Both candidates have 2 minutes to answer questions and are allowed 1 minute for rebuttals. There will be no audience in the studio as well. CBS also says it will be up to the candidates, not the moderators, to fact-check each other.
All right. Is the Tim Walz horse jokes ever going to get old? I don't think so. Will we hear about them tonight? No, I hope that J.D. Vance does a number of things to Tim Walz. He is such a dirty fraud, and maybe he's a communist spy. We don't actually know, but we're going to learn all about it today on The Benny Show. Today is October 1st, 2024. 30 days. Is that spooky enough? 30 days till the election and change. And so we are now here in the October surprise. Is that Tim Walz is a communist asset. Oh, yeah, baby. We're going to cover it all today on the show. U.S. dock workers launch massive strike 1 month before the election. How could this actually pay off for Kamala Harris? How is this actually getting set up? We're going to call out exactly what's going to happen here because it's completely fraudulent. All right. Tim Walz is apparently in a panic attack and very nervous before tonight's debate. We'll cover what that may mean. They're trying to downplay what is going to be a massive loss for Tim Walz. Of course, we'll be live tonight. J.D. Vance's colleague in the Senate, Markwayne Mullin, is going to join our program, the great senator from Oklahoma. My name is Benny Johnson. This is The Benny Show. Today, we're going to be live for who knows how many hours. Sometimes, as ALX can attest, we are just live for what seems like the entire day. And maybe we should just, we bought a live stream system to just go live anywhere at all times called Live View. And we're going to, maybe we should just be live all day long. Some of these streamers go live for like 7 straight hours. We have some interesting things on the horizon where we may just be doing that. We're not exactly sure with that. We're just let her rip, right? Something to put on your calendars. Actually, October 13th, we're going to be doing the biggest Trump boat parade in American history with Eric Trump. I don't think we have the graphics built for that exactly yet. But we're going to be rocking and rolling. ALX says he'll quit if we do live in studio for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. ALX says so we cannot do that. Can't do that. All right. Or maybe we'll just send the live view to ALX's house and you just watch them tweet all day. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very, very special thing to announce for you today. It's that we will be doing our live show tonight. And I don't know, do we have the graphic loaded up, Eric? No, guys, give me the graphic. Got to get the graphic up, baby. Live tonight, Trump with us. Okay, Laura Trump with us. I know. I'm not trying to catfish you. Laura Trump will be live with us tonight. You got to join our program tonight for the VP debate. Laura Trump live, along with Jim Jordan, who dropped this spicy bowl of General Tso's chicken right on Tim Walz's nuts. This is going to be very, very interesting. Spicy, what would be a Chinese soup? Wuhan bat soup, right? Isn't that, remember they said it came from bats in Wuhan, okay? Listen, Jim Jordan is the guy, along with James Comer, who run the government accountability. And they're the ones who are saying that Tim Walz may well be a Chinese spy. We're going to get into all of that in today's show. But you got to tune in tonight, where we will have also members of Congress who are investigating the Trump assassination, and also members of Congress who know what it's like to go to war and to be true veterans in the field of war. The great Brian Mast joining us along with Mike Walz. Not Waltz. Well, not to be, I'm going to practice right now. Mike Waltz. Not Tim Walz. All right. Okay. So we have a stacked show tonight. There's no better place to be. We'll be live at 7:30 with the Trumps, with people who have been investigating Tim Walz, and we're going to then go right into the VP debate from that program. So make sure that you lock in and you join us this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wuhan Wonton is what producer Robbie says. Wuhan Wonton is not what's in the Sweet Brigade mug this morning. Ooh, out of frame. Not what's in here. What's in here is a blackout coffee. The sweet blackout coffee flows through my veins. Very excitable. Very excitable. Again, as we covered yesterday, you'll never see me do one of these on the program. We have photographic and visual evidence of Tim Walz doing this, okay, at like dozens of events. We'll show it to you. You may see me do one of these. I do tend to do those. Those are like typical moves. The reason why we're excitable is because our veins are coursing with the caffeine that comes from our sweet, dear friends at Blackout Coffee. They're family owned. They're made here in America. It keeps us going, gives us the energy to fight the communists. And Tim Walz is indeed a communist. Blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Use coupon code Benny for 20% off your first order. Blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Be awake, not woke. Let's go fight the commies together. You can find them on Public Square. They're also our dear friends. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. All right. Why would Tim Walz be so nervous? Tim Walz is very, very nervous about the presidential debate. Well, Eric, let's read through this Daily Mail article, please. Let's pop that sucker up. Tim Walz is nervous about the debate. What does the article say? These are apparently insiders. And you got to understand, like, they're leaking to CNN, okay? So these guys are leaking to CNN in order to try and lay the groundwork for something that, that I think they're expecting. This is obviously to try and pare down the expectations for Tim Walz. To say, whoa, J.D. Vance, he's an educated lawyer from Yale, and he's a very smart guy, and he's very good at arguing and stuff. Dude, Tim Walz has been serving in office for like 2 decades. All right, he's the guy who actually should have the upper hand here. Then what you try and do is you try and set expectations so that when somebody over or underperforms, it's not catastrophic. Like with Biden. With Biden, they did the same thing, okay? Before Biden went out to debate Trump, they did this thing where they were like, well, Biden, he's very busy and he's very old and he's very sick. And, he's just not, it's going to take a second, right? For Joe to get going. Oh man. But like little did they know how catastrophic it was. And that's what you're looking for tonight. If you're looking for like a pivot change in the polls that are already going horrendously for the Kamala campaign, we'll cover this. You should get knockout blows after knockout blows tonight. And there are so many fruitful paths to do that with J.D. Vance, who is a sharp dude, man. J.D. Vance probably has 50 IQ points on Tim Walz. Tim Walz is nervous about facing J.D. Vance in next week's presidential debate as he hunkers down for the weekend to prepare for Tuesday's showdown. The Democrat presidential nominee is fretted to friends that he's worried he will let Kamala Harris down. Oh, what a cuck. What a cuck. We have proof that he's a cuck. So weird. You ever seen this video of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz talking about tacos? And Tim Walz like apologizing for being white. Like this should obviously be a career ender. It's so strange. If you want to find somebody who has even a lower self-confidence and self-image than Kamala Harris, go look at videos of Tim Walz. This guy is hiding something, and we think we know what he's hiding. I think he might be a communist asset. The federal government is now trying to hide that Tim Walz is a communist asset for communist China. Bro, things are getting wild here. Tim Walz is hiding something. His interactions all obviously scream to this. This man is not confident in anything. He's obviously lied about his war record. He's lied about who he is, what he plans to do. He's been a sycophantic tyrant when given opportunities like COVID to destroy people's lives. He had his family leak out the National Guard positions when the George Floyd riots were going on to help Antifa burn and murder. This guy's a piece of garbage. But check this out. It takes a very special person to be so self-deprecating to like your own race, that you'll tell self-deprecating jokes about things that just are obviously not true. Here we go.
Guy tacos and
What is
like
that?
black,
Like mayonnaise and tuna? What are you doing?
pretty much ground beef and cheese.
That's
and
okay. Do you put any flavor in it?
No.
Oh.
Here's the deal. No, they said to be careful and let her know this, that black pepper is the top of the spice level in Minnesota, you know.
I'm the first vice president, I believe, who has ever grown chili peppers.
I'm trying to expand my food knowledge.
You know what? We've got some cantaloupes. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
What's the purpose of that exactly? To just insult white people? Is that it? This has actually become like the party platform of the Democrat Party. What exactly is the purpose of this? What's interesting about this Tim Walz moment here is that we actually have a recipe of Tim Walz. When you're a member from Minnesota, when you're a member of the Minnesota delegation, they do something called a hot dish. And this is where people like cook something in a dish. And it's I don't know why they do it, but it's called a hot dish competition. And Tim Walz's recipe, put it up, from the hot dish competition, actually has his recipe includes paprika, chili powder, onion powder, garlic powder, a bunch of onions. This is very interesting. Taco sauce, chilies. This doesn't seem like mayonnaise and beef. It's like Tim Walz is just like trying to play a character. Just like Kamala Harris, it's like he's like an actor. And he's been brought in to be the Homer Simpson of the campaign. To just be an absolute doofus, dork, self-deprecating, to like play down and like cuckold himself and bow to Kamala, strong, diverse, bossy pants lady. It's really humiliating. Don't ever let yourself be degraded like this. Don't ever degrade yourself, because really what you're doing is you're doing it to yourself. Okay, let's keep reading real fast here. Daily Mail. Nervous. Maybe this is why he's nervous. Because he doesn't actually stand, because these people are not real. They don't like actually stand for anything. Maybe they're nervous because, well, he knows that he's a fraud. That's an interesting photo there. All right, here we go. All right. Adding to the pressure is the fact that the debate is likely to be the last marquee showdown between two presidential tickets before November 5th. This is why you have to tune in tonight. Listen, this is going to be maybe the last time. Trump has said flatly, I won't do any more debates, and I agree with that. Donald Trump is winning this election. The debates are only there to rig it against Trump and to try to create false narratives that like Kamala Harris won the first debate. Didn't. We can prove it. So Walz has brought in some help to prepare. Pete Buttigieg. So the guy who dropped a chemical bomb on East Palestine, Ohio, is the debate prep. Okay. Buttigieg has a polished on-camera persona. All right. Good job. The duo are holding debate camp in the northern peninsula of Michigan. CBS News will host the showdown on Tuesday night at 9 p.m. in New York City. The last 90 minutes, no audience in the studio, will be moderated by Nora O'Donnell and Margaret Brennan. Why do you need two moderators? Why do you need these two moderators? By the way, these two people are like Kamala sycophants. So I don't know. It's going to be another 3-on-1 operation, but I think that I have high hopes for JD Vance, man. JD Vance is really, really smart cookie. And there have been some pretty shocking things that can be talked about in tonight's debate. Like, for instance, Tim Walz, are you a communist Chinese asset run by the Communist Chinese Party? Now, let me begin by saying, do you have a favorite vacation spot? Is there a place that you really like? And there are places like my wife and I really like to go. We've been there. We're in our mid-30s, okay? So we've been to our favorite vacation spots like 1 or 2 times. All right. If they're like an exotic spot that's not around the corner from you, like you can drive to the beach here in Florida. But if you want to go like on vacation, like to like a big, like to a exotic location for a vacation, and you're both public servant, if you're both like on teachers' salaries, that exotic vacation better be like the pontoon boat ramp at your local lake. Tim Walz, for some reason, has traveled to China 30 times. What the hell is that about? How is Tim Walz on a public school teacher salary able to afford to go to China 30 times, including but not limited to getting married on the anniversary of Tiananmen Square and then honeymooning in China. You know, Tim Walz had like a security clearance in China. Did you know this? How do you go to someplace 30 times? You have never been to any place 30 times for a vacation. Nobody has. There's something far darker and something far more nefarious going on here. And that might be the reason why Kamala Harris, in part, that and like rampant anti-Semitism, didn't choose Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania. Because Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania made a lot more sense as a VP. And I think would have been like a lot scarier. But is there something that she's buying with Tim Walz? Are there dirty tricks that she's buying by putting the China asset on the ticket? This is very interesting. Comer subpoenas DHS records relating to Tim Walz's alleged ties to the Communist Chinese Party. Whistleblower notified that Comer that non-classified DHS group chat intelligence reports discussing Walz's alleged connection to the CCP. Ooh, let's read, baby. Here's what Comer sent out. And by the way, Jim Jordan works on this committee and will be able to tell us much about this tonight live before the vice president's debate starting at 7:30. During the 118th Congress, the Congressional Oversight Accountability has conducted a government-wide investigation into how federal agencies are addressing the infiltration and influence of campaign to weaken and corrupt the United States undertaken by the Communist Chinese Party. This infiltration and influence tactic is one facet of a larger Cold War the CCP utilizes in an unrestricted warfare against America. The CCP considers its main enemy. That is very true. You can see it in all their documentation. During its briefings with over 20 federal agencies in this investigation, next page, the committee has learned of an emphasis the CCP has placed on influencing subnational government leaders, including governors. Along those lines, the committee has recently received whistleblower disclosures informing the committee of serious concerns among the Department of Homeland Security personnel regarding long-standing connection between CCP and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Specifically through whistleblower disclosures, the committee has learned of non-classified Microsoft Teams group chats with DHS employees entitled NTF Biweekly Sync that contains information about Governor Walz is relevant to the committee's investigation. The committee has also learned further relevant information, including Governor Walz, has been memorialized in both classified and unclassified documentation in control of the DHS. The attached subpoena requires the DHS to produce the documentation regarding the Governor Walz's connection to the CCP pursuant blah, 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 rule, congressional rule. The committee's investigation of CCP has begun long before Governor Walz was elevated to the vice presidential candidate. The Democrat presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, seeks to understand the extent of the CCP's infiltration to influence campaigns and identify legislation reforms to combat CCP political warfare, targeting prominent Americans for elite capture. Whoa. Okay, let's just break this down really quickly. This is wild if you understand Tim Walz's history. Because you got to understand that Tim Walz loves China way more than he loves America. He's made that very clear. This is a dude who has effectively said he wishes that he could immigrate to China. He tried to set up, he's worked with Chinese companies. He's worked with the Chinese government. He set up operations in order to bring American students over to get them psyoped into China. Wasn't there a weird thing with a University of Minnesota student, ALX, that shared like a Winnie the Pooh meme? And he got sent back to China? I bet he was part of this program. You remember that, ALX? That was crazy from a couple of years ago. Check out this reporting just to show you exactly how much Tim Walz loves China, to like undergird this. Let's listen to Tim Walz in his own words. Talk about China. Go, Eric.
I lived in China, and as I said, I've been there about 30 times. I don't fall into the category that China necessarily needs to be an adversarial relationship. I totally disagree.
Tim Walz and his wife got married on the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre because his wife said he wanted a date he would always remember. And for their honeymoon, they went to, yes, you guessed it, China.
Who the hell does that? Let me tell you how these operations work. We have so many sources that talk to our show, and given some of the recent coverage that we've been doing on the Secret Service and some more nefarious and interesting activities, international and domestic, we've had a lot of people reach out to us and been talking with us. And we did a phone call this morning about this exact thing and asked, well, how did this happen? And they say it's very, very easy. It's the same Hunter Biden gambit. You have somebody who's down on their luck, who's poor and impoverished in America, but they're part of a prominent family or potentially like a part of a state that could be usurped by Chinese interests. You go to them and you offer them free trips, like lavish accommodations. You steal all of the information on their phones. You get all of their data. And then you start wittingly or unwittingly, and that's the question, getting information from them. Remember, the Chinese played this entire game with the Bidens. They were giving Hunter Biden diamonds the size of fists. The Chinese gave Hunter Biden $1 billion portfolio to manage. The management fees on that portfolio would net the Bidens tens of millions of dollars per year. This is how these malign influence operations work when the countries are actually directly engaged. These countries are getting their hooks. You can hear Hunter Biden's voicemails talking about and talking to the spy chiefs of China. They knew what they were doing. Tim Walz knows what he's doing. So China goes in, gets this doofus, this dumbass, this absolute goofball who probably has plenty of things to hide if you go through his search history. And they get their hooks into him, bring him on all these trips to China. He's already authoritarian by tendency. And they lavish him with presents. But is there a reason why Tim Walz doesn't own any stock? Why didn't Tim Walz own any equities? Why doesn't he own any stock? He's like the first guy to never have invested in the stock market, like in America. Why? What's he getting paid? How does he live? What's he getting paid behind the scenes? How does he know that how does he know that he's good? How does Tim Walz know that he's like functionally and monetarily going to be good? These are the right questions to ask. Who the hell vacations 30 times in China and then uses listen, I got to tell you, Tiananmen Square. Tiananmen Square is like 100 million January 6s, okay, for China. Where the federal government goes in and just slaughtering people who are protesting against the government. Just slaughters them. Runs them over with tanks. You've all seen the image. It's banned in China. Why would Tim Walz choose that date to get married on? Something that's really, really memorable for him. What a sick cookie, this guy. I really hope JD Vance brings this up. Let's continue to read. Solutions ameliorate deficiencies. This already has identified among government agencies strategies to combat the CCP political warfare. The information required by DHS and the committee's subpoena will inform the committee's understanding of how successfully the CCP has been waging political warfare against the United States and effective federal agencies by addressing the communist regime's campaign and what reforms need to be necessary to counter this threat. Guys, we already know that Eric Swalwell, bang, bang to fang, fang. We already know that. We know, and yeah, go ahead and put that up, please. We already know that these are operations that have been run by China. These malign influence operations, like Eric Swalwell had a Chinese spy placing staff in his congressional office. Among other things. She's placing staff in Eric Swalwell's congressional office while Eric Swalwell is placing his staff somewhere else. You never know. You never know. Don't ask too many questions. This is an operation that we know about. This Chinese spy, Fang Fang, had to flee the country. She lavished money. She lavished who knows what else onto Eric Swalwell. All right. Chinese Hawk Tua girl was able to get her fangs. Her name was Fang Fang. Was able to get her fangs into so close into our government that she was running operations and placing staff inside of Congress. If you've ever been to Congress, you realize there's tons of information that goes across these desks that would be very pursuant, especially a guy in like the Intel Committee, Foreign Affairs. Eric Swalwell was kicked off Foreign Affairs. Was that right? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, kicked off Foreign Affairs. The spy who shagged me. There you go. There's the image. He was kicked off his committee for this. He had to get a briefing by the FBI that he has Chinese spies inside of his office. And so now they're saying that this operation may well have been run also with Tim Walz. Ooh, baby. Oh, it's getting juicy. Is this our October surprise? We don't exactly know. We look forward to finding out and asking Jim Jordan, James Comer about this. Tim Walz has troubling ties to China. Lived in China, visited 30 times, held senior ranking security clearances in China. How the hell was this guy even allowed in our armed forces? Can somebody answer me that? Much less to be vice president of the United States. Now, he's lied about his service in the armed forces. He's lied about going to war. He abandoned his troops. He abandoned everyone he was serving with. This guy's a despicable degenerate. We have that, load up that JD Vance clip on this. It's like JD Vance actually took him to task. Hold on, boys, I got it. He lied about his service. JD Vance, I mean, expect more of this. Expect some of this from JD Vance tonight. JD Vance, we might not have gotten, I might have missed it, boys. Load up JD Vance going after Tim Walz for his stolen valor. There it is. So easy. There we go. Rock and roll. That's why we label clips.
As a Marine who served his country in uniform, when the United States Marine Corps, when the United States of America asked me to go to Iraq to serve my country, I did it. I did what they asked me to do it, and I did it honorably, and I'm very proud of that service. When Tim Walz was asked by his country to go to Iraq, you know what he did? He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him, a fact that he's been criticized for aggressively by a lot of the people that he served with. I think it's shameful to prepare your unit to go to Iraq, to make a promise that you're going to follow through, and then to drop out right before you actually have.
Yo, this is why Tim Walz is scared. Because what is Tim Walz going to say to that? We actually have, hey Alex, do we have that Dana Bash clip where she asked him about this? Can you load that entire interaction? Because he was only asked about this one time. One time, Tim Walz was asked, like, wait a second, you lied. You lied about your rank in the military. You lied about where you served, when you served, how you served. You abandoned your post. You abandoned the young men who worked for you. You were like an old ass dude. You were in charge. And you abandoned your troops, and then they all go off to Iraq, and some of those boys died. Everybody who served with you hates you. And Tim Walz's response to this was, me no speak words good. This was Tim Walz's actual response was, I caveman, I no understand English. Maybe he should have just started speaking Mandarin, his native tongue. Who knows? It was incredible. When he was actually asked about it, he's showing like such lack of preparation. Such an unbelievable lack of preparation. This is why they're scared, man. This is why they're scared. Okay, so Swalwell was kicked off the Intelligence Committee. Nice. All right. Can you grab that clip, Eric? Okay. This is so they're worried. They're worried about this line of attack. Homeland Security staffers raised serious concerns about Tim Walz's China ties, whistleblower says, and now the House is investigating. Listen, if these documents exist, then the House has to get them. They have the subpoena power. They have oversight. They're Article 1. Go get those documents. If Homeland Security is saying that Tim Walz is a Chinese asset, dude, we need to know that. Nobody visits China 30 times. Nobody. I've never seen anyone visit anywhere 30 times, let alone a foreign nation. Imagine the dirt China has on Tim Walz. You know when you speak to people like from the Trump administration that travel to China, you know what they have to do when they travel to China? They got to lock up their phones. When you travel to China, there are certain nations, Israel's one of them, where their spy operations are so sophisticated, you are not allowed to bring your phone because they'll take everything from your phone if you're traveling there as a government official. You're not allowed to travel there as a government official with your government electronics because they'll hoover up everything. China's one of those places. Imagine how much dirt China has on like world's biggest dumbass, Tim Walz. Told you all, Tim Walz is a CCP asset. This is 100% connected to the CCP. There's no doubt in my mind. Why are there so many left-wing lawmakers affiliated with the Communist Chinese Party? Well, because they're communists, Nancy Mace. Reminder, Tim Walz visited China more than 30 times, was a fellow at the Macau Polytechnic University, an institution that has been described as having a long-held devotion and love for the motherland aligned closely with the CCP ideologies. While a sitting congressman, mind you. How is it allowed? Set up a private company that coordinated student travel to China to brainwash our students about Marxism, allowed Minnesota's institutions and higher education to collaborate with the CCP, promoted Minnesota-based medical research center with a history of working with the Wuhan Institute virology in China. Ooh. Would be very interesting to get this information. Here again are the documents that we just read. So this is pretty concerning. ALX sent this was a very weird story. Check this out. College student arrested in China after tweeting about Xi Jinping. A student posted a Winnie the Pooh meme. He was at the University of Minnesota. Well, that's interesting. He was studying at the University of Minnesota. Lao Daquing. I don't know how to speak Chinese. That's my best effort. Was detained in China after tweeting in America something that was critical of Xi Jinping. Who ratted him out? Is that what he tweeted? It's a good meme. That's great. Is that what he tweeted? This is very interesting. So he's tweeting in America. It's not tweeting in China. Chinese Communist Party banned Twitter. So the only people who even saw the tweets were the goons in charge of monitoring Chinese citizens. Were they connected to Tim Walz? Very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Tim Walz can't really make any good. He can't make any good connections. Doesn't have any ability to connect brain cells. Here's what he said on CNN when asked about his stolen valor. This is why we call him Tim A. Walz. We'll have to figure out the Chinese. What is the Mandarin pronunciation of Tim A. Walz? We'll have to make up a new Mandarin name for him. Here we go. This is expect to see some of this tonight. This might be setting up for like a massive Biden level disaster. Here we go.
Starting to get to know you, I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war, did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's.
You didn't answer the question. And this is what makes me so angry about Dana Bash. All you have to do is ask a simple follow-up. It's so easy. All you have to do is ask a simple follow-up. Why did you lie? It's not you misspeaking. So she's going to let him get away. You remember this interview. We were live for this interview. She's going to let him get away with me no speak English caveman. Booga, 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 booga. She's going to let him get like that. That's the line. The dude lies 400 times about his record in the military. He like literally there's moments with Nancy Pelosi giving him like awards that he didn't deserve, that he didn't earn, introducing him as an Afghanistan veteran. We have those clips. We should load them up for tonight. Maybe we have them in the script. I'm not sure. Big show today. But this dude's complete dirtbag. And this is like his best. This is his best. This is the best that he's got. Yeah, dude. They're in for it. I don't know, man. This may be the break point tonight. Have you seen this? Do you see that like the little like it's just that's a Chinese bow. Come on. Hold on, watch. So he does jazz hands, right? And then he does like a little Chinese bow. He's coming out with Kamala Harris. He's walking out with Kamala, and he does glee, and then he does like some little bow. What the hell is wrong with this guy? Something like actually deeply wrong with him. For some reason he kicks his leg. He's part of the Rockettes doing the Christmas number, doing a Christmas jingle. What the hell is this? I can't even do it. Look how high he kicks his leg. Look at that. Because if you see me do that during the show, call an ambulance. I'm having a stroke. Something's gone horribly wrong. What the hell is wrong with this dude? What's going on with this guy? It's very interesting. On stage there, you can see over here is this woman. This is in Michigan. Right here, the woman in green. She's running for Senate right now. She's currently a representative in the House, saying that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are bombing in Michigan. We are underwater in Michigan. Holy smokes. Saying she's terrified. We covered this lightly on the show yesterday. I'm not feeling the best right now about where Kamala Harris is in a place like Michigan, she said in a virtual fundraiser that was leaked. We have her underwater in our polling. So the lady who's, this is her saying it, the lady who's doing jazz hands right there is the lady who's doing jazz hands is like, Tim Walz ain't it, man. Something's wrong with this guy. It's not looking good. The polls are not looking good. The polls are looking pretty brutal right now. This is obviously what it looks like when Donald Trump goes to Michigan. Look at this. There you go. Yeah. Kamala Harris could never. Donald Trump tied in Michigan. Dude, if Kamala loses Michigan or Wisconsin or Pennsylvania, you can't make that up on a map. If Kamala Harris is only up by 3 in Virginia, this election's over. The election's over. If Kamala Harris is up by 3 in Michigan. Crazy. Look at this. Rasmussen up again. Keep that very nice, tight Trump up by 2. New swing state polling showing Trump up in every swing state, except for here in Nevada. Whatever. Jerry lives in Nevada. Get out of the meme mines. Get out of the meme mines. Worst Democrat performance in a generation is what CNN is saying about Kamala Harris. Dude, it's bad. And this ain't going to change it, all right? Just a reminder that Tim Walz went to Michigan and got his ass booed. So he's in Michigan. He's doing debate prep in Michigan. He's trying to spend as much time as he can there. He gets booed. Then he flips off people in Michigan. ALX tells me it's the index finger. I still think it looks like a middle finger.
Come 2024, baby!
All right, whatever. I mean, who knows?
2024, baby!
He gives Michigan fans the finger. All right? How's that, ALX? How do you like that? Okay, he gives them the finger. I didn't say which finger. He gave him the finger. It looks like the middle finger to me. All right? Gives him the finger. That's what he does.
Oh, baby!
Trump 2024, baby. They yell at Tim Walz, and then Tim Walz releases this. This is the best they have. This is the best they have. Eric saying the soy clause.
Years to come here. It's like a religious experience.
It's like a religious experience. Dude, Minnesota's playing. Minnesota's playing today. Like, this is the day that Minnesota plays. So you're the governor of Minnesota, and you're saying it's a religious experience to go to the opposing team's field. You're wearing the opposing team's colors. You know nothing about the Big Ten? Bro, I went to the University of Iowa. This is, and then you put go blue. You put like them cheering. You're the governor of Minnesota, you asshat.
That is exactly. What's up, man?
What the hell is that? Who does that? What a creepy weird dude's hiding something. Like, you'd only behave like this if your entire life is a lie. If like you can't be authentic with anyone. That's the only way. Look at this. The only time he looks actually happy is when he's like squatting lower than the cheerleaders. Look at this. Glee Dad.
That was fun.
Mr. Glee Dad.
It was really fun.
I don't get it, man. I don't get it. This guy's creep. Look at this. This is a video. This is an image that was going viral yesterday. Tim Walz and his wife cheering while no one is on the field is such a heartwarming story. So Tim Walz and his wife, did a fake cheer. You can see there's only like one ref here. This must be like at halftime. So they did a fake shot, much like Kamala did yesterday with her headphone and writing nothing in the middle of the piece of paper. You have to give me that photo, please. So they do like a fake. Everything about this is fake. Everything about the campaign is fake. What are you doing? Also, like actually shows this. So the person next to you is asleep, sleeping, like reclining backwards, and you're up like doing like the biggest cheer ever. What fraudulence, dude. What creepy fraudulence. I'll give you though what I believe to be the number one reason why you cannot, I beg of you, you cannot, please load this, boys. You cannot, I cannot respect you if you vote for this ticket. And here's why. Because, I just want to turn the page clip. Just load that up. Let me know when it's up. Okay. If you dare push not just Tim Walz, which is bad enough, but if you push his wife, who's somehow like creepier, almost like Disney villain level, megalomaniacal on us, and clearly has some type of like deep psychotic problem, and is on what has to be Michael Jackson level series of meds. I have no more respect. You must hate America. You must hate America if you want to push this on us. You got it? Okay. If you vote for 4 years of us having to listen to this, then I will never forgive you.
I kind of liked it when she did this. Turn the page. You like that? Okay, so I need you to be with me and practice with me. What are we going to do? We're going to turn the page. Oh, pretty good. Do it again. We're going to turn the page. And we're going to turn the page. All right, so I'm going to be watching you, because when I see Wisconsin, and I'm watching nationally on TV, because this is a pretty important place, and Minnesota helped you practice with this, you just show me this. Turn the page, right? Turn the page. And you know what else that looks like? Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Donald Trump.
This lady makes Hillary Clinton look like Princess Diana. There's something deeply wrong with it. I mean, it's amazing, like the power of the spiritual realm, actually, because you can tell when people are spiritually uncentered. You can tell when people have like sold out, when they have no soul left in their bodies. You can tell when they've been living a lie, which clearly this couple is a lie. You can tell when they've been selling out their souls. I mean, you can see it. You can see it. If you get a close up of Hunter Biden's face, you can see it. You can see like the damage that's been done, right? And when somebody talks to you like this, hey, turn the page. Bye-bye, Donald Trump. Like, it's like they're telling you something, right? They're explaining that they're not spiritually aligned. Okay, something's not right. That's why when you see the junkie like on the side of the road, like in the middle of San Francisco, like they're not behaving like a human being. They're behaving like something possessed. They're telling you something, right? We wear these kind of things we wear these kind of things like unknowingly, and it's an outward projection of what's going on the inside. You see creepy images like that. Like, we see creepy clips like that. Like, no, that's a warning sign. Stay away. All right. Now, there's somebody who's served in the Senate with JD Vance, currently serving in the Senate with JD Vance, and may have some little insights into Tim Walz, somebody who served our country and knows about China's malign influence. Is a great senator named Mark Wayne Mullet. He's from the fantastic state of Oklahoma, and he's here to educate us live right now. Whatever you do. Oh, here we go.
All right, I'm good.
Hey, good. All right. Whatever you do, Senator, Please don't go like turn the page during this interview. You'll go viral for all the wrong reasons.
I did practice it. I was, but I felt like I was doing like a cheer or something. I don't know.
Dude, super creepy, super weird. I want to begin by saying, one, you've done incredible work serving this country. You continue to do incredible work and trying to help Americans get out of like dangerous places. You know where America's enemies are in the world. You seem to have a very clear-eyed perspective on the dangers that we face. This concerning report about the connections to the Communist Chinese Party and Tim Walz has got to raise some red flags for you, I assume.
It does, and it also raises a tremendous amount of hypocrisy through the media too. You remember, I mean, they made up the lies with the Trump family and the ties that they had with China. They made up the ties that Trump's family and Trump's businesses had with Putin and Moscow. And right here, it's staring right in front of you, and they ignored it with the Biden administration. They've ignored it with the conflicts with Waltz and Kamala Harris, and then with Doug, and then they did the same thing with Pelosi too. I mean, you see the connection that continues to go back. And what's crazy is you can draw this line all the way back to the Clinton administration, and you can start even diving into that even farther when you want to start talking about some of the nuclear programs that we partnered with China at the same time. And it gets really interesting. And I'm not this conspiracy person at all, but sometimes they just tie together too much. And if there's even a question of conflict, then it should be explained and immediately dissolved. And the Waltz-Harris campaign, or the Harris-Waltz campaign, hasn't even addressed it. In fact, they tried to simply ignore it. And right now, China is tied in with every one of our adversaries, and without question is the biggest threat we have. And they're not threatening us from face on. They're trying to go around us and literally kill us by 1,000 cuts. And we see this, we know it, and they're trying to penetrate every area of our society, including with the business technology they have, with constantly stealing the technology from our universities, to coercing our businesses to do business there, and then stealing their intellectual property, and then getting literally around us by having a stronghold in South America, and then in our neighboring state in Mexico, with the fentanyl issue that we have coming into the United States. They're challenging with our ports. They're constantly harassing us in the Pacific, and yet we have a VP president that has obvious, questionable at best, connections that need to be explained, and the media is not even asking the question.
Yeah, and obviously we know that Chinese spies have penetrated or been penetrated, depending on the way that you look at it, with guys like Eric Swalwell. We know that that's Fang got her little fangs into Swalwell's office, was placing staff on his office. I think that's quite alarming. Was placing staff inside of federal buildings that have, you know how these federal offices work. Like, you have access to so much information if you're working inside of the member's office. And so this is something that they've obviously done. This has all been admitted to. The FBI said it, and she fled back to China. So these are operations that already run. Can somebody explain? Can you explain to me, sir, like, how is a guy who's married to a public school teacher, who is himself a public school teacher, able to go to China 30 times and honeymoon in China? That didn't make any sense. It's pretty expensive to get to China.
Well, it's pretty expensive, but I don't know why you'd be wanting to honeymoon in China. It's kind of like Bernie Sanders honeymooning in Moscow, right? I've been to China. If you go to Berlin, it's depressing. You can obviously tell that they control every movement of every individual. To go 30 times to China is not exactly a destination point. I get that you may want to go see the wall. You may want to go see a couple of things that China has because of just the historic value of that. But to go 30 times, now I've been maybe 30 times to, actually I haven't been, but my wife would like to go 30 times to places in the Caribbean. But that's a vacation point, right? You don't really consider China being an easy destination point. And it raises question, why? If you had a business over there, okay, I can see why you're going back and forth. But if you have a business, then you need to disclose it. If you have business investments over there, maybe, but then those should most definitely be disclosed, especially while he was in Congress, because I worked with him when he was a representative too. And if not, let's actually look at his trip. Let's go back and look at his phone calls, because everybody knows when you go to China, take a burner with you. I don't care if you're just a regular civilian, take a burner phone with you. It'd be questionable to say, did he take a burner phone with you? And if he did have a burner phone, then we should be able to still gain access to those calls that were made. And if he didn't take a burner phone, that should even raise more flags, because obviously he doesn't care that they are getting into his phone. So like I said, at very least, it's questionable.
So when you worked with him, did you know about all this stolen valor stuff? Obviously you've served your country very honorably, continue to.
Right.
But this is, we have a lot of veterans who reach out and watch and who have contacted us about this. And it was explained to me. That abandoning your National Guard position, if you are a leader inside, and I think it was was he command sergeant major?
I think he was a sergeant major. Command sergeant major is when you're usually a sergeant major is a sergeant major. Command sergeant major isn't actually a true promotion. It's a position that you're assigned that you might when you're attached to whoever. But the sergeant major, I think I understand he was a sergeant major.
So we have a situation where he's lied about his rank.
Right.
Dozens of times. We know that he left and abandoned his troops right before they were going to be deployed. He heard they were going to be deployed, and he immediately decided to run for office. And then we have the press releases that said he's excited to run for office, and that's what he's going to do, and he's not going to go to Iraq. And then we have Pelosi giving him awards and stuff in Congress, saying he's an Afghanistan war veteran. You know Afghanistan quite well, Senator. These are big issues. Do you expect Tim Walz to be questioned about them tonight with J.D. Vance's debate?
I don't know. It depends on what the moderators do. But here's my thing about Tim. I get that he signed up to serve the country, and I think he served for 25, 26 years, 24 years. I don't know exactly how long it was. And I actually, what I did is special assignments outside of DOD. So I never technically put on the uniform, and if I did put on anything that resembled a uniform, I wore the flag on my chest, not on my shoulder. And so my experience in overseas and in fact Afghanistan is quite different. Even though I was attached to like 19th Group or 3rd Group or 5th Group or whatever group was over there at the time, and worked sometimes closely with them, sometimes pretty loose with them. But I saw the greatest of guys in the actual men of valor on a consistent basis. I mean, just amazing. What you hear with Tim is that he did serve the country, but he doesn't necessarily go out and exaggerate exactly what he did. What he'll use is he'll say he was deployed. Well, he's deployed to Italy. He never served in Afghanistan, and he never served in Iraq. But he'll say he's been there many times. But he says that sometimes while he's talking about his service. And so he's not flat out lying by saying he's been there, because he went there on Codell's as a congressman. And so he seems to exaggerate his story. So I'm real careful about saying stolen valor, because when I say stolen valor, I think of guys that are put on the uniform and they try to say that they served the country, and they never did. What he does is he exaggerates by going right up to the point of lying, but then he stops and he doesn't explain what he's actually saying. And we did have conversations, not him and I, but as a whole, as members, we had multiple conversations, and I always assumed he had deployed. I never looked into his record, because we would have separate conversations sometimes talking about the war in Afghanistan or in Iraq or different conflicts, and he always inserted himself as someone of authority because of his rank and his retirement. So I just always made the assumption, and I just never looked at it, because back then everybody was being deployed, right? I mean, everybody was going. So you just assumed that anybody that was in service since 2001 had, and they want to bring it up. Not everybody that served was deployed, because there's a lot of people that do tremendous work to support everyone that's going forward, and their service is just as important as the guys that are downrange. And I mean that, because their support downrange, none of us would have been coming back. And so they do a tremendous amount of work. But I just assumed the way he talked is he was actually downrange too, not just, especially as a command sergeant major, as a major or sergeant in any capacity, no matter what time. Those guys get in the fight, man. I mean, those guys are tough. I mean, that's why when you see John Wayne movies, they talk about the major a heck of a lot more, or not the major, but the sergeant a heck of a lot more than they ever talk about the colonel. And so there's a reason why, because those guys just have a history of getting in the fight. You just assume that's what he's meaning, but now that he's running for vice president, you actually dive into it, and you go, okay, that's dishonest. When you start making the assumption that you know where people are going to read on, so you're playing into the words, right? Because he has never been deployed to a war zone.
He has a sign. He's holding the sign that says "Enduring Freedom Veterans for Carry." Like this is on its face. This is prima facie dishonest, right?
Yeah. Well, on its face, it is, because you think he's been deployed. Now, he might have been support for the guys that were deployed. So technically he's part of it. Technically, I guess he could have got a ribbon, and he may have got a ribbon for it, but he was never deployed. When he talks about being deployed, he was deployed in like I said, in Italy, and he was supporting the guys who was deployed to the war zone. So I don't know how that connects. As I said, I was never in the service. I did special assignments outside DOD, which for people that need to understand what that means is you have the alphabet communities up here, and you have the DOD, and I'm trying to get my phone here, maybe on the bottom. And in the middle, there's this gray area. And in that gray area is a lot of times where bad guys operate, because they know that the government-to-government relationships with the alphabet communities can only go so far. And then DOD is working within what seems like we're the only ones that fight wars still this way, within the Geneva Convention. And so we are fighting, with our hands, one hand tied, or fighting a war with one or two hands tied behind our back. And then there's this big gray area in the center that it takes some connectivity, but it's it's a gray area. And so
let's not talk about gray areas. Let's talk about hard fast quotes from Tim Walz. I carried a weapon of war in war. True or false?
That's false. By his record, by what you're looking at, it's flat out false.
Right. Yeah. So he's on tape. He's on tape saying that, and then when asked on CNN about it, he goes, "Me no speak words good." Right? Like he didn't have an explanation. He just did the caveman routine. So I would just want to ask you, Senator, when it comes to JD Vance, I know you know him well. I know you serve with him right now. What is your advice for him tonight? What are we going to expect to see? I
hope you just see JD. I mean, if JD just shows up and is JD, you're going to see a guy that cares. You're going to see a guy that can obviously articulate his words. You see a guy that's true and honest, and you'll see a guy that's truly living the American dream. He's a guy that has every excuse to fail. This is a guy that had every excuse to be in prison over and over again, selling drugs on the streets. He's that guy, but instead of it, he allowing that to hold him back. He's the guy that rose up literally from the wrong side of the tracks, and currently is living the American dream. And if he just shows up and shows his true personality, shows the humor and the love that he has for this country, and the love that he has for his family, you're going to see a guy that the American people is going to fall in love with. I mean, he's that type of guy. And I wish you could put Usha, his wife, there right beside him, because she makes the team. She's as kind, as sweet as he is, and not that JD's sweet and nice, but as kind of the nicest guy as you can get. But she is just as sweet as they come, and they make a very strong couple. And I consider it an honor to be with him, and to see his family. I think that's one thing too, is look at his family. His family's traveling with him. Not all the time, but they travel with him quite a bit. She stepped out of his career to support the family because she knew that Dad was going to be gone a lot from the kids. And then his immediate family, like his cousins and aunts, are traveling with him when he takes his kids, because I've been on the plane multiple times with him. I'll be with him again on Thursday and Friday. And he takes his boys with him or his kids with him, and they come through and babysit with him while he's traveling. And that just, as a guy that's got 6 kids, and I always try to keep my family with me, that speaks volume of what type of character he is. And I hope the American people get to see that.
It's beautiful. So Tim Walz personally. You've worked with Tim Walz. You've worked with JD Vance. What's your over under on tonight? Was final question here.
There's not even any comparison on who's going to win that debate. I'm not even worried about it. I'm just Tim will come across lost. He's going to try to articulate himself. He's going to try to come across extremely sincere, like he'll try to dive in and maybe have facial expressions, but you're not going to feel it. You're not going to see it. You're going to tell, people can tell that it's fake, that it's made up. And you're going to see JD that's just going to speak it the way that it is. And you're going to tell because he's relaxed, he's able to deliver, and you're going to know it's coming from his heart. I imagine there's going to be a little bit of back and forth. I don't think that JD will probably start it. I think Tim, his personality probably will get him to go after him, but he'll try to say it in a condescending, nice way. And you'll see JD destroying with words and back him into a corner if the moderator allow him to do it.
Yeah, that's a big if. Why do they need 2 moderators tonight at this vice presidential debate? It really does make you guess this is going to be another 3-on-1. We'll see. I mean, do you think it'll get so bad, Senator, that the jazz hands will come out with Tim Walz?
Well, he's one of those guys that talks with his hands. So yes, if they and what's funny is they try to keep him to keep his hands down. It's going to affect him because he speaks. I'm over exaggerating. He speaks with his hands. So if they try to get him to not do that, you're going to see him holding the podium. And look at it. I guarantee it. You'll see him holding the podium, or he'll have a pen in his hand. I'm trying to put this over. He'll have a pen in his hand like this. And he'll do anything to distract his hands, but it's going to play with his head if he does that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, he has a great Rockettes dancers kick too. So maybe you watch the feet as well. We've seen him on stage.
I saw him in the gym. I wouldn't consider him that agile.
Okay. Yeah. I wouldn't either. Wouldn't bother me to run a 40-yard dash against Tim Walz. So thank you, Senator. It's going to be a very interesting night. Everybody follow the great Senator on X. Get on in there. 100,000. Come on. How close are we? Is that 63 or 83, Eric? 63. All right. Come on, baby. We're going to get up to 100,000 for the great Senator Mark Wayne Mullen from Oklahoma. Man who speaks a lot of truth and who just loves this country so very much. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
All right. See you. Godspeed. Okay. I really actually couldn't see. Maybe I need to get my prescription checked. I couldn't see the number. Zoom on in. 100,000 for the great Mark Wayne Mullen. He's a great senator, man. He's fantastic. So Tim Walz is nervous tonight. We may see the jazz hands. We'll see. We may see the jazz hands. We don't know. This has been pretty bad when so we've covered the China issue. We've covered that people are now leaking that the expectations are really, really low for Tim Walz. Claire McCaskill is a former senator, and she's out here saying, this is going to be a tough night. This could be a really, really bad night. Here's McCaskill.
Okay, dive in the debate. What's your advice?
I'm just a little worried about the expectations game at this point. I think people, yes, JD Vance has said some really, I think, disqualifying things about women and how he views people and their role in life. But he will be articulate and he will be prepared and he will be better than Trump was. And I think it's really going to be a challenge for Tim Walz to be able to counter what he is going to bring, at the same time stay really likable and relatable, and then also instill confidence in the American people that he's the better one to be in the wings in case something were to happen to the president. So I just think we need to lower expectations a little bit, because then we can all be pleasantly surprised if I'm wrong and that Tim Walz just mops the floor with him the same way Kamala Harris mopped the floor with Donald Trump.
Lower expectations. And CNN did an entire segment on how nervous Tim Walz is. What's going on here? This is very interesting. What psyop is happening here? Tim Walz is going to suck at the debate. These are what his friends are saying. So they're setting him up. It's very interesting. We're seeing Biden debate 2.0. So we'll see. Claire McCaskill, we need to lower expectations. Here's CNN talking about their reporting exclusively that Tim Walz is a nervous wreck.
We do have this vice presidential debate coming up this week. What do we know about Governor Tim Walz's preparations ahead of that debate?
Well, sources tell CNN that he's fighting nerves. He is nervous. He feels the pressure of the debate. Again, this could be one of the last big moments of the presidential election cycle. So the preparation has looked like watching videos of J.D. Vance doing those mock sessions. Pete Buttigieg is J.D. Vance in those sessions.
Okay. Pete Buttigieg is your guy. Got it. All right. Well, Tim Walz and Pete Buttigieg probably do have so very much in common. Maybe they go to karaoke afterwards after these long debate night sessions together. Pete, I've had such a long night. Give me a little back rub, please, Pete. Just a little. Could you rub my hands? Could you rub my? They're so sore from holding my pen. Please, Peter. Very end. Tim Walz and Pete Buttigieg walk into a bar. What do you do? Immediately leave the bar. J.D. Vance is someone who's very good on his feet and somebody who's been practicing, obviously, with having the contentious media at his throat. Here are some of our favorite flashbacks. Eric, we're just going to play these back to back. J.D. Vance just going ham, going beast mode on corporate media reporters who tried to come for him, and J.D. Vance just savage mode. Listen, dude, if you can, the corporate media, the way it's set up is there are hundreds of producers that write talking points to destroy J.D. Vance and then funnel those talking points through these vicious anchors. And he does a great job with it. This is not going to be as bad as what Tim Walz. I mean, Tim Walz is going to be easy pickings. Tim Walz is like a low IQ, deeply nervous, deeply self-immolating individual with so much to hide. If J.D. Vance can withstand this barrage, he can do anything. It's going to be a very interesting night. Here we go.
Dana, would you like to ask me questions and then let me answer them, or would you like to debate me on these topics? I noticed that when you had Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, you gave them multiple choice answers to the questions that you asked, and you allowed them to answer the questions. I'm happy to be here to talk about policy, but if you're going to interrupt me every single time that I open my mouth, then why am I even doing this? So please ask a question, and I'd ask you to be polite enough to let me answer it.
Yes.
The media and the Kamala Harris campaign, they've been calling the residents of Springfield racist. They've been lying about them. They've been saying that they make up these reports of migrants eating geese, and they completely ignore the public health disaster that is unfolding in Springfield at this very minute.
Senator, what about the Haitian immigrants who say they're afraid?
Because Donald Trump believes, Kristen, let me finish this point, Kristen, and feel free to follow up. Donald Trump is the only person who brought Springfield to national attention, and he's the only president who's going to fight for the residents, not just their right to live safely in their communities, but for their right to complain about what's going on in their own community. I think it's disgraceful that Kamala Harris has heard these complaints, has decided to call people racist instead of actually trying to make their lives better by
I'd come by and one, just get a good look at the plane. Hopefully it's going to be my plane in a few months, but I also thought you guys might get lonely because the vice president doesn't answer questions from reporters and hasn't for 17 days. Have they given you guys an explanation for why she won't take questions from reporters? No? Nobody? Okay, great. Well, I hope that she changes your mind because it'd be good for the American people, and I think it'd be good for you all if she actually ran a real campaign instead of one from a basement with a teleprompter. So have a good one, guys. See ya. What would you like to hear from her? her to answer the questions. I'd love her to just answer what she wants to do and also explain why every single position she has changed. She pretends to be a prosecutor, yet she pretends to be a tough on crime prosecutor, and yet here she is wanting to defund the police. She's the border czar, and yet she's opened up the American southern border. This is a person who has to answer the questions from the media, and it's disgraceful that she wrote for you guys. It's also insulting to the American people. But anyway, we're going to go do our event. I appreciate you guys being here. I wish she paid you some more attention. See ya.
Yo, you think that guy's going to be shook tonight? That dude walked up to Kamala Harris's plane and mogged Kamala in front of her own press corps. That's who was covering that. Amazing. An all-timer for JD Vance. An all-time moment for JD Vance. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are excited for tonight. It's going to be a wild show. Again, we have Laura Trump on the program. We have multiple members of Congress. It's going to be really, really rowdy. Maybe some other special guests that we're working on right now to announce, but we'll be live at 7:30. The debate is at 9, and so roll in to this exciting debate with us. The chat's going to be fire, and we're going to put up all of the all the comments during the debate. Right? You can be part of the debate. U.S. Representative Corey Mills heads to North Carolina with supplies and search and rescue team for hurricane recovery. Ladies and gentlemen, we told you yesterday that we had Corey Mills and a team that partnered with us from Mercury One. Mercury One is the charity for Glenn Beck. And we had our team deliver supplies and sent a videographer with them. And so it's going to be, I haven't been briefed on what our videographer was able to actually get in an active. Is this our B-roll here? Okay, great. Let's pop that on screen here. So you can see some of the supplies that we sent. Eric, do we have that loaded? No? Okay. Let's rock and roll. But guys, we briefed you on this yesterday. We want to tell you this is kind of what America First actually looks like. So we sent these helicopters to North Carolina. This is the only way to actually get to the affected areas because all the roads have been washed out. They needed water. They needed baby supplies. You need baby food, formula. And we locked and loaded. So this was you actually helping out yesterday. So we thank you. By watching our program, by supporting us, by becoming members, by joining the Benny Brigade, you help support activities like this. We have, an awesome opportunity to help our fellow Americans. And this is what America First actually looks like, right? This is what America First actually looks like. It's pretty fun. Pretty fun moment to be able to help and assist. We're looking for other opportunities. We're sending another helicopter today, actually, to do the same thing and to carry forward an opportunity to help our fellow Americans and to practice what we preach around here. Being America first, ladies and gentlemen. Being America first. Okay, we teased it, so just really quickly here, before we close, dock workers launch massive strike month before election. This could potentially hurt Kamala Harris, but it could also be a massive setup. I just want to be ahead of this. These dock workers are part of the AFL-CIO. The AFL-CIO are responsible, in part, for rigging the election in 2020. They were like the center of this octopus dark web for rigging the election against Donald Trump. This AFL-CIO is dirty, dirty union. And they actively advocate against democracy, and they actively advocate against the interests of their workers. So why would they allow tens of thousands of workers in major Gulf ports in the East and Gulf Coast to go on strike? Could it be part of an opportunity for Kamala Harris to step in and negotiate a settlement? Definitely. Definitely. This is something that we want to get ahead of, and we want to get on it and say, we've been warning about this. We've been warning about this, that they might set up some situation. They might design some situation where Kamala can come in and be the hero, right? So you choke off all the points of entry for products and things that Americans need, and then you send in Kamala to solve the fake problem. AFL-CIO behind it, man. You cannot trust them. Donald Trump responding exclusively to based Brooke, our friend at Fox. The strike was caused by the massive inflation that was created by the Harris-Biden regime. Everybody understands that, the dock workers, because they were decimated by inflation, just like everybody else in our country and beyond, says President Trump. So Donald Trump saying this is Kamala Harris's problem. It may have been caused by Kamala Harris, and now they're going to try and solve it with Kamala Harris. Like, put a pin in it. This is our prediction, ladies and gentlemen. We don't need any prediction to tell you that we're going to have a rockin' evening tonight. Please pop up the let's go ahead and show you again. Please be joining us here tonight at 7:30. We have a great lineup for you. The VP debate may well be the last time that Team Vance and Team Trump spar against each other before the election date. And again, it is October. So our October surprise, what will it be? Does it begin tonight? Please join us tonight live, ladies and gentlemen. Our verse of the day verse of the day is the same verse as yesterday. What's our verse of the day, boys? From Micah 7:8. Do not gloat over me, my enemy. Though I have fallen, I will rise. Though I sit in darkness, the Lord will be my light. It does feel like there's quite a bit of darkness in the country right now. I can't believe that Kamala Harris is so close in the polls to Donald Trump. Obviously, I think that spells relative doom for Kamala Harris, quite frankly. But nonetheless, like, this is what's really important. Don't be nervous, man. Be anxious for nothing. Like, understand that these are the kind of chess moves that God makes, and that we just have to have faith. Remember, Sodom and Gomorrah, like, get saved because all the angel asked for is, like, find me one good man, find me one good woman, and we'll save the entire city. Okay. I don't think God's done with America yet. I believe in my heart of hearts, if God was done with this country, that President Trump would have a bullet through his head, through his chest right now. And there's been plenty of opportunities for that, obviously. President Trump did take a bullet, survived miraculously, and I think there's more to be done here. President Trump posting about Michael the Archangel this past weekend. Pretty awesome. So here we go. We're gonna head into this VP debate. We got one heck of a show for you. And we're going to have some fun. Why not? You got to laugh at the absurdity of all this. You got to march forward. Happy warriors. You can't defeat an army of happy warriors. It's your boy, Benny. This is the Benny Show. See ya.
Where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light, bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.